What's going on, guys? I'm Milos and I'm a Norwegian music producer / artist, and today I thought I'd show you how I made my latest track called Attention, which sounds like this. Alright, let's dive into it. Alright, so now that we're in the DAW, I thought I'd show you first off the chords I started with, because I felt like those played a huge part in like the vibe I was setting for the track. And for this track I decided to go for like an ethnical vibe. So the chords sound like this. And I'm sorry for the cracks and pops this, because I'm using my old computer, which is where I made the track like about a year ago, so it's not the best computer, but it is what it is. I started off with this plug. And I kind of spiced up the sound by putting the sound in a room by adding a really short decay on the reverb, which really spaces out the sound, because without the effects it sounds like this. Which is really straightforward, but I put it in the space by using the Valhalla room, added some EQ, added some top, because I felt like it made the sound prettier, and cut the lows to make room for the bass. Huge difference. And moving on, I added some elements like this guitar, which fit the track perfectly. I was so happy when I found it. All together. And then I added some texture. These bird sounds right here. Let's see. Just like put you in the mood, like you don't really listen to it, but I guess your brain senses it to like put you in like this vibe where you're kind of in the jungle, or I don't know. And then we move on to percussion, which plays a huge part in this kind of track, because like it's those kind of elements you would feel like fits that kind of track. Oh, that was bad English, but yeah, you get the point. Just solo this. Also, that's a cool detail, this one right here. It's like this African chant with a bunch of people. It really added a lot to the track. And it also works like a fill together with this one. Just to spice up, make the track more interesting. A little air candy right there. Moving on, we get to the pre-chorus, or chorus, like the hook. Where I just stacked a bunch of pianos, like 4, where each layer has its own purpose. I used the M1, true pianos, Nexus, and another M1. That's an important one. I guess this one adds a bit more of the mid-tone of the sound. That's a little bit more gritty. And the last one, a bit more of the details in the high end. And I processed it like, let's see, there. I use the EQ, remove a bunch of the muddiness around like 100, 200, and add a bit of the mids right here, and I added some crisp to the top end because who doesn't like that? Some OTT, a bit of the glue, just to like, just a tiny bit of compression. The decapitator, beef it up a bit. And then we have an imager because I think at least the M1 is pretty narrow, pretty mono. So I wanted it a bit wider to like leave room for the vocal in the middle. And then we just, yeah, I don't think I used more than that. Moving on is the build up, which builds up to the drop. And do note that there's a couple elements missing, like the chair angle, which is like this out of tune guitar, which is from Labs, but somehow the library messed up right here. So I don't have the piano either, which is like this soft piano, which is really nice. Those kind of elements sounds more like acoustic and real, because they're slightly out of tune and they have some details to them, which really adds to the track. Alright, moving on to the drop. I'll start off by playing the drop right here. So I went for this like groovy drop with a lot of bass, of course. And on top of here I have these vocal chops, which I added in later when we wrote the track. But let's start off with the bass. I also have this automation, which can really add to the track if you use it right. So you can automate the pitch bend of, let's say, the sub bass. If you hear. Yeah. So on the end of each part, I just spice up the pitch to make the bass move a bit more. And the layers here, got quite a couple layers on the bass. Let's see, drop bass 2. And the important part about stacking the layers is that you choose sounds that fit well together, not that sound too similar, you know? So I have this bass right here. And the final one is kind of a cool trick to make your bass stand out more, because I added this percussion, which sounds like this. I added this on top, just playing one note, but it acts like the attack of each hit. So without and with. Huge difference, but it really made the bass pop out in the track. And of course it's a bass. Alright, moving on. A huge part of the production is the percussion, which is really important in this genre. So let's hear it. Sorry. Another thing I did to emphasize like the hits on each part is to add those piano stabs combined with these brass stabs. also added a lot of percussion to emphasize the rhythm, like these ones. Little like bunch of stuff just to fill up the gaps, make it more interesting. And on top of there I have this vocal lead, which I will show you right now, which is in another project. So let's dive into that. Alright, now we're in the project where we recorded the vocals. And this was the first time, so it was the same day that we wrote the vocals. So these are just scratch vocals, just to have something to work with. And they sound like this.
I wanna take you down under the morning light, to 5:30.
It was also like my second time recording vocals, so there is a couple flaws and errors, but it's not too bad. And in this project I thought I'd show you the vocal chops I did. And I actually did them the same day because they're not that complicated. They sound like this. And they're heavily processed. First of all, I can show you it without the effects. Sounds like this. So let's listen to the track with that without the effects. Not the same thing. Okay. So to start off, I started off with an auto-tune just to, because it wasn't necessarily the best take, but it was a cool take, so I decided to use that one, even though it was slightly out of tune. So I auto-tuned it, added some OTT, just like 6%, added a decapitator, which really beefs up the sound if you feel like it misses some power, and added an equalizer where I just cut a couple lows, and later on we mixed it better, like cutting harsh frequencies in another project. And Little Alter Boy, which is a big boy, because it really made the sound pop out. I don't usually use this kind of drive, but I did in this project and it really worked. And the drive knob really beefs up the sound, if you listen here. Such a good distortion. And the format, you can change the feel of the sound to make it more dark or more bright. And it would probably be cool to use it like that too, but I just went a bit down to just kind of change the sound. Yeah. And I took down the wet knob just a bit to make it blend a little bit more with the original vocal. Moving on, we have the Cla Guitar Stereo, which is made for guitars, but you know, it's no rules in creating music, so it fits perfectly for vocal chops because you have all these simple effects. You just push up the knobs and it's such a great, easy plugin to use. You can even like mess up the sound completely by re-amplifying it, like a guitar amp, like this. Which I have actually used in a project, but not in this one. Just add a reverb even more, compressed it even more, delay and widen the sound with this knob, and just, yeah, these don't do that much. And moving on, I used the plugin, which I don't usually use, but as I said, it's 1 year ago, so times have changed. But yeah, this is a cool plugin, really easy to use as well. I imagine that would be like really cool for like future bass stuff to use that one. A bit more widening, a little more power drive, a little boost. I think this boosts like the top end, and of course sidechain. Then we have some reverb, standard reverb. Just put the sound and blend it more into the mix. And to finish it off, to like fill up gaps, I added a reverb automation, which is here, which like drags you into the next part, which is a really cool trick to use, which I use in almost all of my songs, especially if I feel like it's missing something. So here is without. Next with. Love that effect. So that's pretty much it, guys. If there's any questions, just ask in a comment. If there's any topic you'd like me to talk about, just let me know. And if you think I sucked at explaining, which I probably did, just dislike the video. Yeah. So thank you for watching, like and subscribe.